I was 13 years old. 13, not 16, not 18, 13. Most girls my age were worried about school, friends, homework, boys they liked. I was worried about where I was going to sleep that night because I didn't have a home anymore. And I didn't have parents anymore either. They told me to leave, just like that. No bag, no money, no plan, just get out. And I was pregnant. Sometimes people look at me now and they see an old woman, white hair, wrinkles, slow steps. They think my life has always been calm. They don't see the girl I used to be, the scared child, the one crying in the street at night, the one who thought her life was already over before it even started. When I was 13, I didn't even understand what pregnancy really meant. Nobody talked about those things back then. We didn't have internet. We didn't have education about the body. We only had shame. Everything was shame. If a girl made a mistake, it was her fault, always her fault. I remember the day I found out. I felt sick for weeks, dizzy, tired. My mother looked at me and said, "Why do you look like that?" I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what was happening to me. Then one older woman in the neighborhood told her. She looked at my stomach, and she knew. She whispered something to my mother, and my mother's face changed, like she didn't recognize me anymore. Like I wasn't her daughter, like I was something dirty. That night, my father didn't talk. He just sat at the table, silent, smoking, over and over. The house felt cold. Nobody looked at me. Nobody asked if I was scared. Nobody asked if I needed help. All they cared about was what the neighbors would think. The neighbors, not me, not their child, their reputation. Later, my father stood up. He didn't shout. That almost hurt more. He just said, "You embarrassed this family. That's all. Not, are you okay? Not, who hurt you? Just that. You embarrassed us." Then he pointed at the door and said, "Leave." I thought he was joking. I waited for my mother to say something, anything. "Stop, she's just a child." But she didn't. She just looked down. She couldn't even look at me. I remember that more than anything. Her eyes, or the lack of them. She didn't even look at me. It was like I was already gone. I walked outside with nothing, no clothes, no food, no money, just the clothes I was wearing and a baby growing inside me. I didn't even know where to go. I walked for hours, crying, wiping my face so nobody would see, because I was ashamed too. They made me feel like I did something unforgivable, but I was just a kid. A kid. That first night, I slept behind a small store, on the ground. It was cold. I remember hugging my stomach, talking to the baby, whispering, "I'm sorry. I don't know what to do." Imagine that. A child apologizing to another child because she couldn't protect them. I was so scared of the dark. Every sound felt like danger. Dogs barking, cars passing, men walking. I didn't sleep. I just waited for the sun to come back. That was the longest night of my life. The next days were worse. Hunger changes you. After 2 days without food, you stop feeling proud. You stop feeling human. You just feel desperate. I knocked on doors, asked for bread. Some people closed the door in my face. Some looked at me like I was trash. One woman gave me soup. I still remember her face. I don't even know her name, but I will never forget her kindness. Sometimes strangers save you, not family, strangers. I thought many times, this is it. My life is finished at 13. Most people haven't even started living yet, and I already thought it was over. I remember sitting on the sidewalk one afternoon, watching other kids walk home from school, laughing, carrying their backpacks, talking about homework, normal things, simple things, and I felt like I didn't belong to the world anymore, like I was invisible. Like life had pushed me outside and locked the door. I kept thinking, how did this happen so fast? 1 month ago I was a child. Now I was homeless, pregnant, alone, 13 years old. It didn't feel real. It felt like a bad dream that wouldn't end. One night, something happened that I never told many people. I was sleeping near a bus station, curled up against a wall, trying to stay warm, and a man sat next to me, too close. He smelled like alcohol. He kept staring, didn't say anything at first, just staring. My heart was beating so loud I thought he could hear it. Then he touched my arm and smiled. That kind of smile, the kind that makes you freeze. I didn't scream. I couldn't. I just stood up and ran as fast as I could, barefoot, crying, holding my stomach. I didn't stop running for blocks. That night I understood something. Being alone as a young girl was dangerous, very dangerous, not just sad, dangerous. That's when fear stopped being emotional. It became survival. After that, I stopped sleeping outside in open places. I hid behind buildings, inside half-broken sheds, anywhere nobody could see me. I learned how to disappear, how to be quiet, how to not attract attention. At 13, those aren't things a child should know. But life teaches fast when it has to. Some mornings I woke up so hungry my hands were shaking. I drank water just to fill my stomach. Water felt like food. Sometimes I would walk past bakeries and just stand there, breathing the smell of bread, pretending that was enough. You don't understand hunger until you feel ashamed of wanting food, until you feel guilty for being alive. One day I fainted right there on the street. I remember the sky spinning, then black. When I opened my eyes, an old lady was next to me. She kept saying, "Child, child, wake up." She gave me bread and milk. I ate too fast and got sick. She asked me where my parents were. I lied. I said they were working. I don't know why I lied. Maybe because saying the truth hurt too much. Maybe because I didn't want pity. Or maybe because if I said it out loud, it would become real. Months passed. My belly kept growing, and people stared more. Whispers followed me everywhere. I felt like my body was screaming my secret to the world. I tried to hide it with big clothes, but you can't hide life growing inside you. When winter came, everything got worse. Cold is cruel when you have no home. Your bones hurt, your fingers go numb, your thoughts get slow. I thought I was going to lose the baby. Every night I prayed, please, just let the baby live. I didn't even pray for myself anymore, just the baby. If something happened to the baby, then all this suffering would mean nothing. And that scared me more than anything. Then something unexpected happened. A woman who owned a small diner noticed me. I used to sit outside because it was warm near the kitchen. She came out one day and said, "You look like you haven't eaten." I nodded. She didn't ask questions. She just gave me food. The next day she said, "If you want, you can wash dishes for me." That tiny job saved my life. It wasn't much, just leftovers and a few coins, but it was dignity. It was the first time someone didn't look at me with judgment. She looked at me like I mattered. I will always love her for that. Some people become angels without knowing. I worked until the day my body couldn't anymore. Until the contractions started, I was terrified. I didn't know what childbirth really was. I thought maybe I would die. Nobody prepared me. Nobody explained anything. Pain came in waves, stronger, stronger. I remember screaming for my mother. Even after everything, when you're scared, you still want your mom. Isn't that strange? Even when they hurt you, your heart still wants them. The diner lady took me to a small clinic. I held her hand like a little girl. My fingers were shaking, not from the cold, from fear. The place smelled like medicine and metal, white walls, bright lights. Everything felt too clean, too quiet. I felt dirty being there, like I didn't belong. Like they would look at me and say, "What is a child doing here, pregnant?" I wanted to disappear. Then the pain started, not small pain, not normal pain. It felt like my body was breaking from the inside, like something was tearing me apart. I didn't understand what was happening. Nobody had ever explained childbirth to me. No classes, no mother, no advice, just pain, wave after wave, stronger, closer, stronger, closer. I thought I was dying. I remember crying and saying, "Please don't let me die, please," over and over, like a prayer, like a child begging the dark. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time didn't exist anymore, just pain and fear and loneliness. I kept looking around the room, all those strangers, doctors, nurses, nobody who knew my name, nobody who knew my story. I felt so small, so alone. I thought, this is how I die. 13 years old, alone in a room, and then everything stopped, just for a second. Silence. Then I heard it, a cry, small, sharp, alive, the loudest sound I've ever heard. My baby, crying, breathing, alive. They placed the baby on my chest, so tiny, so warm, so real, and something inside me exploded. Not pain, not fear, love, pure love. The kind of love that hurts, the kind of love that changes you forever. I started crying so hard I couldn't breathe, because for the first time in months, I wasn't alone. I looked at that little face and I whispered, "It's just us now. Not me, not I. Us. Two people against the world." And suddenly, I wasn't scared anymore. because I didn't have time to be scared. I had someone to protect. That day, I stopped being a child completely, forever. Some people grow up slowly. School, jobs, college. Life teaches them step by step. Me, life pushed me off a cliff and said, fly. The first nights with the baby were hard, so hard. No sleep, crying, cold, no money. I remember rocking the baby in my arms at 3 a.m., sitting on the floor of that tiny room behind the diner, singing songs I barely remembered from my childhood, trying not to cry because if I cried, the baby cried too, and I didn't want my child to feel my fear. I wanted them to feel safe, even if I wasn't. Sometimes I looked at my baby and thought, you deserve better than me. Better house, better mother, better life. But then I realized something. I was all they had. So I had to become enough, even if I didn't feel enough. I worked like my life depended on it, because it did. Washing dishes until my hands cracked, cleaning tables, mopping floors, carrying boxes heavier than me. People complained, customers shouted, managers got angry, but I didn't care, because every plate I washed meant milk, every coin meant bread, every hour meant survival. At night I counted money on the floor, coins one by one. Sometimes it wasn't enough. Sometimes I skipped meals so the baby could eat. I told myself I wasn't hungry, but my stomach knew the truth. Still, seeing my child sleep with a full belly, that was enough. Years passed, slowly, painfully, but they passed. My baby started walking, then talking, then laughing. That laugh saved me more times than I can count. Every time life felt too heavy, that laugh pulled me back like a rope, like a reason. Do you know what's strange? I stopped thinking about my parents, not because I forgave them, not because it didn't hurt, but because I didn't have time. When you're fighting to survive, there's no space for hate. Hate is heavy, and I was already carrying too much, so I let it go. Not for them, for me. People sometimes ask me, were you angry at life? Of course I was. I was furious. I was a child. I didn't deserve any of that. But anger doesn't feed you. Anger doesn't warm you. Anger doesn't protect your baby. So I turned anger into work, into strength, into movement. If I stopped moving, I would fall apart. So I never stopped. Now I'm 87. And sometimes I sit by the window, watching kids walk home from school, just like I did that day on the sidewalk. Backpacks, laughing, carefree, and I smile because they get to be children. And even though I didn't, somehow, I still made it here. If you look at me now, you just see an old woman, wrinkles, slow hands, soft voice. You don't see the girl who slept outside, who ran barefoot in the night, who begged strangers for bread, who gave birth alone at 13. You don't see the fights, the fear, the hunger, the nights I almost gave up. But I remember every second. And if there's one thing I learned, it's this. Life can break you. Yes, it can humiliate you, abandon you, throw you away like trash, but it cannot decide your ending. Only you decide that. Every morning you wake up, you get one more chance to fight, just one. That's enough. One is enough. If a scared pregnant child with nothing, no home, no family, no money, could survive, build a life, raise a child, and grow old, then trust me, you are stronger than you think, much stronger. Sometimes the worst day of your life is just the beginning of the strongest version of you. Mine was, and I wouldn't change it because that little girl, the one everyone rejected, she became the strongest person I know. She became me, and I'm proud of her, very proud. But here's a strange thing. Everything I told you today, losing my parents, sleeping on the streets, having a baby at 13, people think that was the hardest part. It wasn't, not even close. That was only the beginning. What happened after, how we survived, what life did to us next, the choices I had to make, the things I had to sacrifice, that's a whole different story. And honestly, it changed me even more than being abandoned. Some of those memories I still struggle to talk about, even now at 87. Maybe one day soon I'll tell you that part too, because this was just chapter 1. And if you're watching this, I want to ask you something. Have you ever had a moment where you thought your life was over, but somehow you kept going? If you have, tell me. I'd really like to know. Because sometimes sharing our stories is how we survive. Maybe I'll see you again.